Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scouts. In this episode we are looking at the best captaincy candidates for Game Week 2. Joining me is David. David, welcome. How are you?
Very good, thanks. It's good to have fantasy football back. We had a decent. Well, I think everybody had a good weekend. To be honest, I haven't seen many teams that scored lower than 80 points. To be honest, from people that sort of been within my network. So, that's all you need first game week, isn't it? Just solid score, pressure off for game week 2, and then you can kind of make all of your decisions from a base of success rather than panic. So, good place to be.
Yes, I had a good score as well, 84 for me, and so I was very pleased with that until I saw the overall rankings, and it was somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million, which I guess is okay on a given week. But I sort of expected more. But I think that shows how good the overall rank is, and worryingly how good everyone's getting. Maybe they're watching our show. Well, that can be the hope anyway.
I hope so.
The vain hope there. But let's move on to the captaincy candidates for Game Week 2. We're hoping that the key candidates do as well as they did in Game Week 1, but we shall find out. Yourself and me, we both captained Mo Salah last week. He delivered. Fantastic. Can he do it again? So yeah, Mo Salah, what do you think? Game Week 2 captain?
He is the person who currently has my armband this week. I made that sort of decision on Friday night. Whenever the first game week passes and the game eventually updates, you always set your bus team. That's the first time I think we've mentioned that this season, first of many times. And so Salah was just an easy one. I really liked the look of that fixture away at Southampton. Mm-hmm. I'm a little bit in the air now, and we'll talk about that in a minute as to why I'm not completely nailed on for Salah right now, but the case is still very good for Salah for game week 2. I alluded to the fact there that it's a good fixture, and let's start by looking at so it's Southampton. Let's have a look at what they were like at home last season, because I was talking with Joe before this video, before we came on, that with some of the data, when you go into game week 2, you can use data from game week 1, and Joe is going to bring us some of that data. But because Southampton haven't played at home yet this season, I think it's worth us looking at how well they did at home last season, because we haven't seen them do that this season. And last season at home, they were in the bottom 3 for big chances conceded at home. Huddersfield were bottom, which is no surprise, of 47. Watford second bottom with 44. And Southampton third bottom with 41, which means only 2 teams conceded more big chances in home matches last season. And Hasenhüttl has transformed Southampton. I don't think anybody doubts that, especially going forward. But at the back, they still seem quite leaky. So this fixture for me is a really nice fixture. If you're going to have away matches as far as they go, if you're looking for good ones, Southampton away I think is a good one to captain a player in. And when you look at what Salah did away from home last season as well, he was top of the league in away matches for his 32 shots on target. He was top of the league for his 47 shots in the box. When it comes to big chances, he was third behind only Kane and Aubameyang. So, but still a strong position to be in. So there's a lot to like about this particular matchup. A player who was good away from home last season against a team that was leaky at home last season. It's a good combination. He's top of the captain par right now for very good reason.
Yeah, and this season, so last season's stats are really useful because we've got lots of them as well. So we've got lots of, big base of numbers to look at. So having a look at the small number that we've got so far, that game week 1. So in the Fantasy Football Scout members area, you can obviously look each game week at a time, and it's quite useful. It's quite handy to look at who's doing well, the players and the teams who are doing well or badly after a particular match. There's good and bad news. So the bad news first: Salah had just 2 shots, both inside the box, and both did well. I need more data over time, but the lack of shots is a slight worry. So he did well, but I want to see really if you're getting 2 goals a match, or you're getting a goal and assist a match. I really want to be seeing 5 or 8 shots, I guess. That's what I want to be seeing. And that's what we have been seeing. We'll come to later from the likes of Harry Kane. But Mohamed Salah, we're not seeing just yet as well. So that's the bad news. Scored, but nevertheless, he did score, and he did get attacking points from those meagre amount of shots. Here's the good news though. So Norwich conceded 11 shots in the box, and Southampton are actually very similar as well. So 8 shots conceded in the box against Burnley. So for me, it looks on paper, as you said, a really good matchup. And Salah gets my armband. I don't like the low quantity of shots, and I think we might see more of them. But I do like the fact that Southampton's defence is appearing this season as leaky as it had been last season, and certainly as leaky as Norwich's as well. But yeah, I think good call there. There's another
I
guy
think
though.
you're right to. Well, I was just going to say, I
Yeah,
think you're
yeah.
right to point out the slight concern over Salah's shots because he wasn't his usual self against Norwich. But as you said, they should improve. I think we can probably perhaps maybe just put a few mitigating factors on the fact that he didn't have much pre-season. Obviously, African Cup of Nations over the summer. They didn't have Mane, for example, so they weren't quite at the best that they could be. So then, yeah, there's plenty of, I think, very easily to point out factors to suggest that he will shoot a lot more often. But yeah, sorry, you carry on and move us
Well,
on to
no,
the next.
I'll just carry on from that as well. Nevertheless, as you said, didn't have that pre-season, wasn't quite on form, and yet he delivered 12 points. Well, I'll take that. Who knows what he'll do when he's actually on form as well. But yeah, I was going to say there's another guy as well that we have to mention. He was the same last week. We weren't really tussling. We thought Salah would be a good captain last week. But I did mention that this next guy would punish me because I'd been ignoring him for the captaincy the previous season. I did it again. And guess what? He did punish me. He got more points. At least I own him this time. Yeah, it's Sterling. Now, he's at home, but he has a tougher match than last week. So he played West Ham last week. Huge score, 20 points. This week, though, a bit tougher proposition. He's got Spurs. So what do you think about Sterling? He's at home, but it's a tougher match. But could he be a good captaincy candidate? Could he punish us again?
I think he could do, yeah, certainly. I mean, this is why I'm a bit uncertain. The way that Sterling played against West Ham was way better than. I mean, not that I thought he was going to play badly, but when someone gets 20 points and could have had 23, some of you who follow me on Twitter know that I was a bit miffed by the offside call for Jesus' goal. You know, he could have had the assist there. It was an incredibly marginal call, but the VAR pulled it back as an offside. He's just so involved in absolutely everything. It makes you kind of go, oh, wow, maybe I should be captain because, of course, he outscored Salah by 8 points, playing probably a team that I would say is a similar defensive capabilities. Norwich and West Ham, I think, a similar place in defensive capability. But yeah, it is a tougher fixture. But you know, there are players out there who go for form over fixtures. So you know, there's a strong case for him as well. If we're talking about the fixture being difficult, I think Spurs defensively didn't look amazing against Villa. I thought Villa played really well in the first sort of hour of that game, but basically before Eriksen turned up, because you know they kind of sat behind the ball very nicely and they picked their moments to break on Spurs. And whenever Villa did break on Spurs, they looked quite dangerous. And McGinn kind of showed that you know there's definitely they're not completely defensively organised as they should be at the back because he found it you know a little bit too easy, I think, to kind of push his way through and get that goal. I mean, that's very much what McGinn does. But if a player who's playing in the Championship last season can expose that away from home against Spurs, then the best attacking team in the land, supposedly, or you know, defended champions, like how much more could they expose that at the Etihad Stadium, where they're just such a ruthless team? So I'm a little bit concerned if I go with Salah that Sterling's going to outscore me again. If looking again at last season. For home matches, because Man City haven't played at home yet this season. Sterling doing very well for you know just a lot of the attacking things that we want to see. So looking at all home matches last season of players who are going to be playing at home in game week 2, Sterling is second for shots on target behind Aguero. Some of the other options are Eden Hazard, obviously is not here anymore. Mane and Salah, who are away from home. Pogba's going to be away from home. So the players that are above Sterling don't have a home fixture this week. He's behind Aguero, but as we've all sort of like identified, Aguero not starting that game against West Ham. You know, possible that he doesn't start game week 2 as well. Some quotes we've seen out of Pep in the last sort of few hours suggest that you know he's really championing Jesus this season to push Aguero for minutes. So the fact that Sterling's behind a few people there doesn't really bother me. You know, he's done quite a similar sort of position for shots on target as well in home matches last season. I mean, Spurs away from home, obviously, historically, last season were a more difficult prospect than Southampton in home matches. So they, big chances conceded. Only Man City and Liverpool conceded fewer big chances away from home last season than Spurs. Yeah. But, of course, the more recent match, the Aston Villa game, showed me that they are capable of playing quite badly defensively. Finally, then, I've just run a small comparison using the members area, using a comparison tool to compare Sterling in home matches versus Salah in away matches, and annoyingly, it's quite mixed. So there's sort of like there's pros and cons in each direction, which I mean probably just shows that they're both good options, right?
Yeah.
Sterling ahead for the penalty box touches, Salah ahead for the number of shots and shots in the box and shots on target. They're level for big chances, but Sterling scored more of those big chances and had a higher goal conversion rate. Then when we look at the creativity, Sterling created more chances, but Salah created more big chances. So it's really marginal between the two. There's an equal pros and cons in each direction, which probably means I'm going to go for the fixture in the end because I think they're both good assets who are probably both going to get double figure hauls. But if we're sort of really with the captain, I like to say which one of those is more likely. It probably is Salah against Southampton, purely just because of that fixture. But there's still plenty of reasons, I think, to go with Sterling on a bit of I don't want to say punt, but an educated kind of risk, because not many people are going to captain him again this week because of what we're seeing in the poll. You could end up doing exactly what you did last week if you captained him, which is make some serious ground.
Yeah, indeed. And I'll say it again. He's punished me last week, punished me last season, and I fully expect him to punish me this week. I will eventually captain Raheem Sterling. Not this week, perhaps a bit later. But yeah, I think he's a really good prospect as well. I want to say that Spurs, though, they conceded only 4 shots in the box against Aston Villa, and that's not a lot. Against Villa, but you guess obviously that's Villa, and then he's playing City next, so you expect that to be more. But it was in fact Kane, I thought, who showed the most promising underlying stats, most kind of eye-popping stats of the week in terms of strikers and captaincy options. He has a tough fixture against City, obviously, but he had 8 shots and 6 of which were in the box, and that's both records for the week. So already Kane is looking really good value for 11 million. I'm certainly looking at ways of perhaps getting him in the next week or two, but I think that will be too difficult ahead of the City match. But I think you're right with Sterling. I think there are options there, and I think the logical option is to go for Salah, because we all think that Liverpool are going to beat Southampton. When it comes to some of the trickier clashes like Spurs against City, we don't know. That could be really high scoring. It could be 4-3. It could be 0-0. We just don't know. And that makes it difficult to trust one of their assets with the armband. But at the same time, I think those that are a bit unlike us, risk takers, I think they could be in for some heavy points, possibly. But that's the whole point of taking a risk. Well, they could be in for no points. But that's the risk. We're not risk takers, so Salah gets it for now. There's another guy, though, Aubameyang. He's at home to Burnley. On paper, that looks like a great option. A lot of people have been saying to me, and on Twitter and elsewhere, have been saying, I hope you mention Aubameyang this week. So there we go, Aubameyang. Yet another game week captain to deliver in game week 1. Home to Burnley, as I said, could be another opportunity for points. Yeah, what do you think about his chances for the captaincy this week?
Well, I think he is currently second in our captain poll, so he is definitely considered as the alternative. As things stand, we've had around 1,000 votes. Oh, sorry, 80. We've had 1,850 votes. Salah running away with it again on 64%, but the next best thing is Aubameyang, according to our voters, with 14%, which isn't massive, but yeah, I mean, I can understand the appeal here. I've sort of been quite, I don't want to say scathing of Aubameyang, but I'm not his biggest fan from a fantasy perspective, because I don't see him or last season, he didn't really demonstrate the ability to be a reliable, or rather predictable, source of points, because he missed more big chances than any other player. So, even if you're seeing that he's getting lots of big chances, can you trust him with those? Not always. Very good finish, I should say, against Newcastle. So, I think he's a quality player who will score plenty of points this season. But Burnley, they're less of a whipping boy than they were last season. Obviously, they were absolutely hemorrhaging shots last season. That then kind of tailed off, towards the start of 2019, really, effectively when Joe Hart left the team, and Tom Heaton came back in, and then now they've got Nick Pope back, who of those 3 goalkeepers, I always believed he was the best of the 3. They seem to be in a position to make sure that most of the shots they face are coming from outside of the box rather than in the box, right?
Yes.
So that's why, for me, I think that out of the 3 fixtures, I think that Burnley are the ones who could actually be the most annoying. If you've captained, you've got a choice of captaining Salah against Southampton, Do I think Southampton have the ability to annoy Liverpool defensively and block their shots? No, I don't. Do I think Spurs have the ability to do that to Man City? Maybe, but on the evidence of last week, probably not. But Burnley historically have been a team that love to frustrate. And I would not be surprised if this is 0-0 or even 1-0 Burnley with like an Ashley Barnes goal. But this is a Burnley clean sheet with Pope getting 3 bonus, Tarkowski getting another 2 bonus, and them just basically kind of stifling Arsenal. Arsenal are a penalty box team, right? So if Burnley are keeping their shots outside of the box, then perhaps we see a really frustrating encounter.
Yeah, that's exactly. It was the point we made on the Scoutcast last week was this was in favour of Pope, actually, to saying that what Burnley do, their tactic is to restrict the number of shots in the box and make sure that people are shooting from outside of the box, sort of forcing them to shoot there. And those shots are then easier to save as well, and less likely to be on target. And that has always benefited historically the goalkeepers, well, until Joe Hart came along. But historically, the Burnley goalkeeper, whoever it is, has been a great asset to have because they've got easier shots to save. The same again happens with Southampton. So Burnley beat Southampton. They concede, Burnley conceded 11 shots, but only 5 were from close range as well. So I think this is going to be bad news for Aubameyang. Against Newcastle, he had 4 shots and all were from close range. So as you said, Aubameyang, his calling card and Arsenal's calling card is penalty box shots. And if he can't get those penalty box shots, he can't score goals, so he can't earn FPL points. So that's that element of doubt. That's the theory. That's on paper. We don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, Aubameyang could turn it on, but on paper, Burnley will restrict a player like Aubameyang. And so for me, that's enough of a doubt to say I'm not interested, especially not interested for the captaincy as well. Also, using Rate My Tool. So the good news here, though, I'll use the Rate My Tool team in the members area. Please do sign up, by the way, obviously. Details on the site. But Aubameyang there is second only to Salah in terms of the highest score of the week. So the computer says that I'm completely wrong and Aubameyang is in for a really massive score. Unfortunately, for me, the computer's always right. So trust me, trust David, or trust the computer. Take your pick. What about other captaincy options as well? What about perhaps Manchester United as well? Rashford and Martial impressed in game week 1, but is a trip to Wolves too much to consider for the armband?
Yeah, I think so. I thought Man United would beat Chelsea. I did not think they would absolutely spank them. So I think they're good assets. Obviously, Martial very much playing as a centre forward. Some quotes from Solskjaer this morning, basically describing him as. I mean, he's got the 9 on his back, but he's described him as a number 9, which is basically saying he's very insistent on playing Martial through the middle. So if you've got a 7.5 million striker in potentially one of the most attacking teams in the league playing centre forward, I mean that's just the stuff of fantasy dreams, really. That is great. But yeah, Wolves away, that strikes me as a tough encounter. We had our concerns about Chelsea's defence going into the season anyway from pre-season, and we didn't really have concerns about Wolves' defence. And then the Wolves-Leicester game absolutely demonstrated why we weren't that concerned about Wolves' defence this year. I think Man United would probably still score. The thing we saw with Wolves last season was they would restrict teams quite a lot, but still just concede 1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think this could be maybe like a 1-1. I mean, to be honest, I mean, this is the kind of game. Jota, for example, didn't have a great game against Leicester. No. Still got in some good positions, even if he did trip over himself. But, people are asking me, do I want to get rid of Jota? No, I don't. This is a game that I think Wolves can win. So, just based on that, in the fact that Wolves tend to raise their game for these top 6 sides, I'm not going to captain a Man United player for this one.
Also, it's a Monday night fixture as well. A number of Wolves fans have said to me, Molineux on an evening fixture.
Yeah, under the lights.
Wow, the atmosphere is incredible. I think, as you said, they turn it on against the top teams as well. I think they also turn it on for these types of evening fixtures. You would assume they do well. They want to do well every game. But there's something about these fixtures, and I think Wolves could be
tough. The occasion, isn't it? And the fireworks and the pyrotechnics before the game, like it's a quality occasion. I mean, I've never been to Molineux, but if I had to choose one occasion to go to Molineux, I'd pick then playing a top six side in an evening match. And yeah, I'm sure the atmosphere would be incredible. Although I should just point out, by the way, those of you interested in joining Monday Club this year, this is your first opportunity to captain a player in a Monday night game. Not that I'm advocating you do that, but if you're brave enough to do it, then this is the first opportunity of the season. So
yes, definitely. Well, I'm just going to stick with owning a player for the Monday Club. I don't know whether that.
Yeah, that's a better way of doing it.
I don't know whether that qualifies me. On to the scraping the bottom of the barrel section. Last week it was Danny Ings, which proved to be fruitless. Here's one here. Okay, differential captain based on underlying stats. Now, okay, brace yourself. It's Pedro.
I'm bracing.
Pedro.
Okay, what?
For Chelsea.
That's not as left field as I thought it would be.
It's not as left field as you thought it would be. So Chelsea have a tough game against Leicester, but I actually thought Chelsea, attacking wise, looked really good against Manchester United. But bizarrely, they got, as you said, got completely hammered by them. But I think that Pedro showed enough promise. So he had 5 chances. That's a record for the week. Plus 4 shots. Only Kane had more shots that week. Is that home to Leicester? Yeah, I think it's scraping the barrel, and people will laugh me out of the video.
For people are already doing that in the live comments, just to let you know.
Yeah, but I think it's good to mention some of these left field choices, because we're at the beginning of the season. There's loads and loads of very engaged managers who will be perhaps going for Salah or Aubameyang or Sterling, but there's others who are the real risk takers, and they're possibly looking at the performances and underlying stats and thinking, what's a left field choice? Well, Pedro's it, basically. Just wanted to also mention Bournemouth as well. I think they're going to bounce back. I think that this is another great opportunity for Bournemouth there. I didn't like. I was worried. As a Wilson owner, I wasn't too happy with what I saw in Game Week 1. I think Game Week 2 is a chance really to, show their credentials, really. So just mention that. Wilson, another left field choice. Any others left field choices for captaincy?
I try not to make left field choices for the captaincy. I think I'm more boring on captains than you are, Joe. I don't even like talking about them. But just to sort of defend your bringing them up, another reason why it's worth talking about these players is often not necessarily for the captaincy, but more just for those fringe players that kind of make the difference, right? So when we're picking our captains, most of the time, especially me and you, Joe, we tend to go with probably the popular candidate, good for a reason. So our way of shooting up the ranks, trying to get into a decent position by the end of the season, is pulling out these Pedros, these Wilsons, and making sure that they're in our team when they're showing good statistics, as you've mentioned there. So, Pedro certainly has been on my radar over the summer, will continue to be on my radar. Wilson's in my team. I completely echo your thoughts there on Bournemouth. I think they were a little bit restricted in the way that they had to pick their formation for that game, because they had a few injuries in wide areas. Their new signing, Dan Juma, not quite ready for the season yet. David Brooks injured as well, so they basically had to play they play 3-4-3, which didn't really suit them. Sheffield United actually quite difficult to break down. Aston Villa, I think it is who they are playing this week. Villa obviously quite tight against Spurs, but I think they'll see this game as an opportunity to venture forth, open up some space behind them. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Bournemouth assets get a few goals this week and reward those who show a bit of patience at the start of the season.
Okay. Well, hopefully that's redeemed. Well, redeemed me for mentioning Pedro. I'll probably get pelters for that, but yeah, I do think Wilson, because we've seen he's capable of braces and hat-tricks, so I do think he is quite a strong differential captaincy option, especially against a promoted side. Just before we go, I just wanted to mention that a lot of the statistics we've been using for each game week and for last season as well, home and away, comparing players, rating players, all of those are available in the members area. Have a look at fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. There's tons of information there about how to sign up for membership. Very, very easy to do. And I know for yourself and me, as soon as we became members, we started doing better. It's just the way it is. And I know there's been a number of those that won Fantasy Premier League as well who've been using it and doing well. But for now, David, thanks so much for joining me, and good luck with the game week.
Cheers, and to you as well.